Let's talk about the BITE, AMG 420, immune therapy, BCMA, more BCMA all over again. How much BCMA can we take?
Well, I mean, I think you made a good point about BITE, and this is the one that generated the most buzz because it's the furthest along, right? So this is the one against BCMA and CD3, but there are many other BITEs in first-in-human trials that we hopefully by ASH, that we will start to see as well. So to me, it's less of to review the trial, right? 42 patients, dose escalation of the BCMA antibody, has a very short half-life, so it's continuous infusion. They saw 13 of the 42 patients responded, so that's the good news. The other interesting thing I found from it was even when you stop therapy, some of those patients responded for over a year. And given the short half-life of the drug, it's not from the drug hanging around. So to me, that's more a question of what have you done to the immune environment that's really been lasting. And so technically, you would expect that from any of the other BITEs as well. So I think so the good news is it works, there's responses. Notes of caution were obviously the neuropathy that they saw in 2 patients, with one of them having quite severe neuropathy. And I don't know if anyone else wants to comment, but I found that as quite alarming because of no sort of predisposition or.
Well, it was Guillain-Barré, wasn't it?
So-
It wasn't just neuropathy.
Right.
It
One
was pretty
Guillain-Barré
severe.
IVIG,
Yeah.
and the other one, the patient had issues with walking as well. So the neuropathy was pretty bad.
And so given the unexpectedness of that, I think that's, I don't know how to sort of put that into the context of the response rates, really. But to me, it's just sort of yes, BITEs are going to come into the future for us in myeloma therapy.
So what about other potential targets? So BCMA, I'm sure each of you guys have treated somebody with a BCMA BITE, whether it's this one or the other ones that are out there. What about other targets for BITEs? I mean, I know we're going to talk maybe in a moment about other CAR T-cell targets, but CS1, CD38, all these other things are potential BITE targets as well, right?
Yeah, GPRC5D is the other one. It's even being looked at from CAR T-cell development. But I think we have early data and early experience with each of them. It looks like the bispecific monoclonal antibodies do have activity with each of these targets. It's about, I think it's going to be how you deliver them, what kind of safety profile you get with them, and how do you fit them in. I agree with Sagar, the BCMA as a target is fairly saturated. So I don't know the value of utilizing a bispecific after a CAR T or a CAR T after bispecific targeting BCMA. So this is a fairly nascent space, and we're going to see a lot of other targets in the same space. CD48A is another one.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I sort of think almost like, because the challenge with CAR T cells is getting them to it, right? So if you could give a BITE or a bispecific that was a bridge and told you, yes, this target means something in this patient, that might be a way to say, all right, now I'm going to give them their CAR on the back end. But that's a complicated strategy, right?
There's been a lot of talk about, how are these going to be employed? How are they going to be deployed? And the truth of the matter is that not everybody can get a CAR. It takes a lot of support from family, going to the transplant center, et cetera. It's kind of like getting an autologous transplant in terms of the logistics that are involved. But in terms of BITEs, because it's off the shelf and can be given in the local docs clinic, I think many patients are going to get BCMA targeted therapy prior to even being evaluated for a CAR T per se. And it's going to be interesting about the sequencing. Can we give multiple BCMA targeted therapies one after another, or do we have to go BCMA and then a different target, SLAM F7, and then can we go back to BCMA? So this is going to be really the challenges we face in the next 5 to 10 years. It's going to be great.
I think the interest. Go ahead, Amrita.
I was going to say, I guess I would have one note of caution because, I mean, AMG, they had a grade 3 CRS. We've had experience with several of the other BITEs. We see CRS, and so I feel as though that's still not something that's ready for general use.
Right. I think it's still going to be at most centers of excellence, and then it's going to be hard managing those kind of patients. How many community centers are using Blino, for example, in clinical practice? It's usually the larger centers who are doing it.
So we had the same thing. We did it kind of with daratumumab because there was 50% infusion reactions, and a lot of the local docs said, "Oh, can you give the first dose, and then
Right.
we'll do the next
Yeah.
one." And that might be what we do for
Yeah,
BCMA, right?
maybe the first cycle, and yeah.
But they got comfortable after a while, and some of them were just putting them in the local hospital for the first dose and then taking them to their clinic. So I do think that that's going to evolve too. People are going to learn, and they're seeing this isn't just going to be myeloma. It is going to be bites are coming for breast cancer, prostate cancer. So the docs are going to get exposed to these
Well,
things
the
sooner
same
rather
is true
than
for
later.
CAR-Ts, for that matter. They're coming in solids. I do want to highlight the allo CAR-T concept, where you're knocking off TCRs, from the donor cells. I think that will be a very important off-the-shelf option. Essentially, a single donor can help make 100 products that are ready for use. So I think that will be a game changer.